COVID-19. COVID-19 virus is a severe acute resp syndrome virus of the coronaviride family of viruses. The outbreak was first identified in Wuhan, China, in December 2019. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on January 30, 2020. Signs and symptoms of COVID-19 may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. This time after exposure and before having symptoms is called the incubation period. Common signs and symptoms can include fever, cough, tiredness, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, muscle aches, chills, sore throat, runny nose, headache, chest pain. Ebola. Ebola virus, also called as Ebola hemorrhagic fever. Bats were known to roost in the cotton factory in which the first cases of the 1976 and 1979 outbreaks were observed. The virus spread through direct contact with body fluids, such as blood-infected human or other animals. Symptoms typically starts with 2 to 21 days after contracting the virus. At the time, some people begin to bleed both internally and externally. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 44% of 33,687 infected. H1N1 PDM09. The viruses are 80 to 120 nanometers in diameter. In virology, the pandemic H1N109 virus is a swine origin influenza A virus, subtype H1N1 strain that was responsible for the 2009 swine flu pandemic. This strain is often called swine flu by the public media. In 2009, H1N1 influenza virus emerged after reassortment of North American trig and Eurasia avian-like virus of swine and started epidemic in Mexico. The signs and symptoms of swine flu are similar to those of infections caused by other flu strains and can include fever, chills, cough, sore throat, runny or stuffy nose, watery, red eyes, body aches, headache, fatigue, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting. The disease has a high risk of death, below 0.01% of those infected. H5N1. On November 25, 2003, a fatal human case of avian influenza H5N1 infection occurs in China in a 24-year-old man from Beijing, and is attributed to SARS. This case is retrospectively confirmed in August of December 12, 2003. Republic of Korea first reports H5N1 in poultry. The virus spread to human through close contact with birds. The symptoms of H5N1 infection may include fever, often high fever, greater than 38 degrees Celsius, and malaise, cough, sore throat, and muscle aches. Other early symptoms may include abdominal pain, chest pain and diarrhea. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 53% of 861 infected. HIV/AIDS. The disease was first recognized in the early 1980s. Scientists identified a type of chimpanzee in West Africa as the source of HIV infection in humans. They believe that the chimpanzee version of the immunodeficiency virus, called simian immunodeficiency virus, most likely was transmitted to humans and mutated into HIV, when humans hunted these chimpanzees for meat and came into contact with their infected blood. Over decades, the virus slowly spread across Africa and later into other parts of the world. The symptoms are similar to those of other viral illnesses, and they're often compared to the flu. Early signs of HIV include headache, fatigue, aching muscles, sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, a red rash that doesn't itch, fever. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 11% of 36 million infected. But now the disease is controlled and have a mortality rate of 0.26%. H7N9. Avian influenza H7N9 is a subtype of influenza viruses that have been detected in birds in the past. This particular H7N9 virus had not previously been seen in either animals or people until it was found in March 2013 in China. However, since then, infections in both humans and birds have been observed. The virus spread to human through close contact with birds. H7N9 bird flu symptoms are similar to those of normal flu. These include cough, high fever of 38 degrees Celsius or higher and shortness of breath. Worsening symptoms can lead to pneumonia, acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, septic shock, multiple organ failure and death. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 39% of 1,568 infected. MARBURG. Scientists identified Marburg virus in 1967, when small outbreaks occurred among lab workers in Germany who were exposed to infected gravid monkeys imported from Uganda. The virus spread through close human-to-human contact. Symptoms starts with a headache, fever, rash on trunk, multiple organ failure and massive internal bleeding. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 81% of 590 infected. MERS. MERS virus is a viral respiratory disease. A new type of coronavirus was identified in September 2012, initially called novel coronavirus 2012, and now officially named Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus MERS. The virus spread to human through close contact with camels. NIPHA. Nipah virus first appeared in Malaysia in 1998 in peninsular Malaysia in pigs and pig farmers. By mid-1999, more than 265 human cases of encephalitis, including 105 deaths, had been reported in Malaysia. The virus spread through direct contact with body fluids, such as blood-infected human or other animal. SARS. SARS virus is a severe acute respiratory syndrome virus of the coronaviride family of viruses. The distribution is based on the 2002 to 2003 epidemic. The disease appeared in November 2002 in the Guangdong province of southern China. This area is considered as a potential zone of re-emergence of SARS. Cases of encephalitis. The virus spread human to human through droplet spread. Symptoms are influenza-like and include fever, malaise, myalgia, headache, diarrhea and rigor shivering. No individual symptom or cluster of symptoms has proved to be specific for a diagnosis of SARS. The disease has a high risk of death, killing 10% of 8,098 infected.